We now recognize the gentleman from Utah, Mr. Chaffetz, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Attorney General, for being here. I had an opportunity in the Judiciary Committee to ask you questions on December 8th of 2011. I had asked you if you had spoken to President Clinton, or President Obama, Secretary Clinton, or Secretary Napolitano. You said that you had not spoken to either of those three about Fast and Furious. Is that still true today?
Well, let's see. With regard to Secretary Napolitano, yes. Secretary Clinton, yes. And
I'm sorry, to Secretary Clinton, you have spoken with her about Fast and Furious?
No, I'm saying no. Well, I should say no. Secretary Napolitano, no. Secretary Clinton, no. And I've had passing conversations with the president just about the fact of my testifying in connection with Fast and Furious.
On Wednesday, February 16th, you issued a press release along with Secretary Napolitano saying that you had met together. This was on the heels of Jaime Zapata. He had just been killed in Mexico. There were questions as to whether or not there were ties to Fast and Furious. You say that you didn't have any interaction with Janet Napolitano about Fast and Furious. My question is about Secretary Clinton. What sort of interaction did you have with the State Department?
Well, I'm not sure at lower levels if there was interaction between the Justice Department and people at the State Department. I know that I've not interacted with Secretary Clinton with regard to Fast and Furious.
I was questioning whether or not you had actually had some interaction, or the words Fast and Furious came up, you had some interaction. You said, and I quote, "You have to understand something about the way Washington works." Explain that to me and the interaction that your department or agency has had with the State Department.
Well, one of the things that I was saying that I was trying to say that I think I got cut off was that when people know that I'm going to be the subject of these kinds of hearings, 6 times and all of that, nobody necessarily wants to get involved in these kinds of things or get dragged into it and then have some interaction, conversation that I have with them be made more than it is. And I understand when people don't necessarily want to talk to me about Fast and Furious, knowing that at lower levels.
So you know that they're withholding information from you?
No, they're not.
Well, you just said that they're not going to provide you the information because they don't want to drag you into it.
I said they didn't want to have conversations with me. Information.
Isn't that withholding information? If you can't tell the boss what's really going on, you're going to be oblivious to what's going on.
We're talking about cabinet level people, and I'm saying that the people who work under them, either DHS, state, other executive branch agencies, are certainly providing information to the Justice Department so that we have access to whatever information
is necessary. And is the Justice Department providing that information to, say, the State Department or the Homeland Security? You may say that you're not having face-to-face discussion, which troubles me. I don't care whether you're Democrat or Republican. The idea that you're not being informed and not having conversation because you're afraid of coming to Congress is troublesome at the least.
Well, I'm not afraid to come to Congress. I've been here 6 times.
I know. But if you're not being informed, so you purposely can claim ignorance on the issue, that is a problem. My question is, at the lower levels, is there an expectation on your part that there's interaction between these departments and agencies?
Well, there's not only an expectation. I know that, in fact, there is that kind of interaction because with regard, for instance, to the death of Agent Terry, I know that DHS is working with the FBI.
What about the State Department? What about the State Department?
State, doesn't have as direct a role. Obviously, we interact with our counterparts in Mexico, and we talk to the State Department and inform them of contacts that I have. In fact, I'll be speaking to the Attorney General from Mexico in the latter part of, well, I guess early this afternoon.
I mean, paragraph